What is up? For starters, you're probably wondering, who are you people? I'm Chris Hine, Wes Chang, Fabio Lucarini, Hambone, aka Michael Hamarne, and we're talking some NBA futures. Today we're gonna go over some over/under wins and then some awards and some other fun stuff. But guys, we gotta start with Raps. I know Hambone, Hambone and Wes are both kind of big on the Raps.
Look, it's not going to feel like a homer pick, right? 36.5, obviously that number, that's the reason why I think you bet it. I'm not saying the Raps are going to be a good team. I'm not saying they're going to be in the playoff team, but 36.5 wins, that wasn't even a play-in team last year. Chicago was the last one in. They won 40 games. There's really like 4 points about why I'd say Raptors are going to go over here. Number one.
Oh, you're going through them all. Okay.
Well, real quick. Watch. Like, look. Okay, let me bang these out for you, okay? And then you guys can debate whether or not this makes sense.
Let's hear it.
Look, the number's way too low.
Yeah.
Masai's proven with how he's handling things with the trading for Damian Lillard, trying to. He's not ready to throw in the towel. Okay, that's a big point. Jakob Poeltl, they get a full season of him. Mm-hmm. And then the bench is just much deeper than what it was last year when, like you and I were joking about this earlier, Koloko played the third most bench minutes of this entire unit. Those 4 reasons, I think, are really
Are you worried at all, though, about Van Vliet? Like the no Van Vliet factor?
I mean, listen, I think some of Raps Nation felt like he didn't contribute as much as they say he did. I think he's a good player. I think he mattered. But I don't think that loss is going to be enough to count out 5 total wins.
I think the thing about Van Vliet that he brought was just spacing, gravity, right? Like my worry, again, I also like the over. I think last year with the over/under was 46.5 on FanDuel. It's
lost money on that. Thanks, Raps.
Yeah, well, I think a lot. Well, I mean,
most.
Honestly, man, that was a cash cow for like the previous 4 years, so I'm fine to give.
Other
back
than
a
the
little
Tampa season, like they were cruising their overs.
You can't have revisionist history. Like everyone was high on the Raps last year, right?
And listen, they had the point differential of a team that I believe sat in 44, 45 wins, so they should have done better. But listen, man, the vibes were poor.
The vibes were off.
They were not immaculate. They were not immaculate.
I just don't think Fred VanVleet is worth, and Nick Nurse, to be fair, worth 10 win drop-off. I think Darko Rakovic is bringing a positive vibe. I think he can, I think that's what the team, quite frankly, needed. I worry about the perceived lack of shooting, and especially if Dennis Schroeder's starting. You have him, Pascal, Jakob Poeltl.
That's no spacing.
It's going to be tough. 0.5 basketball is nice in theory. Quick passes, a lot of cuts, a lot of back cuts. Obviously, we need to see it. However, the number is too low. They have too much talent, in my opinion. I know I argued, again, the under in one of our other hits. I'm saying
I was just playing devil's advocate, though.
Yeah. Like the half-court offense, you and I have talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
Look, the half-court offense wasn't there last year. It's not going to be there again this year. That's the one thing they have to figure out.
Yeah, and the book is out on the Raps. I mean, if you stop them from running, they're done. They short circuit in the half court, right? So I don't think that's going to get better this year. And to be fair, I like the over as well. I think it's too low. But if you're making the case against them, I mean, you said Masai might not blow it up, but you have Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, and Gary Trent, all potential free agents. You can't pay all these guys. So what are you doing? Are you just going to let them all hit free agency?
Also, just to say you get to near the trade deadline and this team is like slightly under 500. Aren't you wise to trade 2 of those guys and then try to bottom out to keep that pick, which is top 6 protected?
What does slightly under mean?
But even then, the counterpoint to that, why didn't they do the last trade deadline? Then when Fred could have, and then they did it for nothing.
Maybe Masai learned from that because he lost Fred from nothing. But I think the top 6 protection on that pick will be a big dictator of where this goes. And if you look at it, let's quote Masai, plan for what? If you're slightly out of that plan and you're getting close to the deadline, isn't it wise to move off of those guys and bottom out just to keep your pick?
There are a few moves that I thought were indicative of why I think they're going to push. You don't bring in veterans. You don't keep those veteran guys, Otto Porter, Thaddeus Young, Garrett Temple, if you're just going to tank. You know what I'm saying? I think you want these young guys to get better. We've seen the Dame Lillard trades, man, they were very close according to many sources. They were close to making that move. The fact they were willing to even try to go for it, and I think they're incentivized not to tank based on monetary situations.
To your point, I was going to say, they at the end of the day, they still want to put butts in seats, too, right?
Listen,
they want a decent product on the court.
They want a decent product. And American media, we perceive this. We are very deeply ingrained in what happens here with the Raptors in Canada. We know them to be dismissive of the Raptors. I think 36.5, a 10-win differential from last year to this year, I don't think makes sense. I'm playing the number, solely the number.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to ask you guys. Bottom line is, do you think the Raptors are a bottom 4 team?
I don't think they are, but I think they could become that because of the uncertainty of the contract
talented.
and with the top 6 protection of the picks. I honestly, I would probably, I'm staying away from this. I would lean over,
Coward.
but I'm just saying, yeah, I am a coward.
Coward.
But let's transition. My favorite of these totals, and you guys are going to call me a square for this, even though I would say we aren't sharps, we aren't squares, we are the mercenaries.
There's something in between.
That's just us being lame in our gambling group chat. We're degenerates.
We don't move lines with millions of dollars. We are just people who see what's happening on either side, and we logically deduce.
So
just squirrels trying to find nuts in the world. You know what I'm
Story
saying?
of my life.
So my favorite over, and I would say this is probably a square play, although right now it is even money on FanDuel. Celtics over 54.5. 157 games last year. Here's what worries me about it. They lost their depth, and I think in order to kind of have a season like that, you want that continuity, you want that depth. They took some big swings. Zinger, if a Zinger injury or a Drew Holiday injury could really sewer that bet, but I think this team is kind of like, it's just over the years, they keep kind of slowly building, then a step back, then slowly building, step back. I think this is the year that they finally, over the top, this is a 60-win team, Tatum's an MVP candidate, and they're going to be competing for the title. And I'm not saying anything crazy because they're the title favorite, and they have one of the highest totals.
Listen, their problem's not winning regular season games.
Yeah.
They're going to be good, but I think the Porzingis move it raises their ceiling but lowers their floor.
Offensive ceiling.
I think there's a world where Porzingis maybe isn't healthy, maybe Drew's banged up or whatever, and they win not as many games, but their ceiling is certainly higher because they just have way more talent now with Holiday and Zinger.
It's a reasonable bet, I think, in the regular season. I am a big Marcus Smart fan, as you guys know. Not you guys know. They lost a lot of heart in that trade. I think you need that when it matters.
They also gained heart by losing Grant Williams. So
That's marginal. That's marginal.
But Holiday is better than Marcus Smart.
Yeah. He is.
There's no way.
But they also lost Time Lord in that transaction. They lost Malcolm Brogdon, and they are elevating Peyton Pritchard.
They lost a lot of depth and a lot of continuity.
Yeah, but Time Lord, you don't know if he's coming or going.
25
he misses
games
half the season. Brogdon is always hurt. I don't think they're even going to miss the guys they got rid of that much.
I think the biggest thing with this season too, that's macro to the entire win total market, is there's way more parity, way more good teams in the league this year. So it's not suddenly going to be one of those years where 65 win team, 62 win team, they're going to smash that over. 54 is the highest number. I'm not sure whether or not Boston is going to be in its own tier ahead of everyone else, or they're going to be right there at that number, making it good enough to
There's
bet.
typically always, though, at the top of these conferences, there's going to be one or two teams that are going to be like a 55 to 60 win team. And I think Boston, not hands down, because I think the Bucks will be there, but I think it's Boston and Milwaukee are hands down a step ahead of everybody else in the East.
That's fair.
You went this long without mentioning Jeff Van Gundy.
Sorry, man. Yeah,
all you did was rant about Jeff Van Gundy.
People want to give Missoula a lot of crap, but hey, Van Gundy's
there.
Van Gundy, he's like Varys in the shadows, just pulling strings.
Wow. Game of Thrones. All right, what do you
Wes, what do you got? You did Wes. Fab.
Yeah, Fab, go take it, man.
I am taking the Los Angeles Lakers under 46.5 wins. Listen, this bet has been a cash cow. Okay, 8 of the last 10 years it's hit.
He's serious. He's looking in the camera for that.
He's serious. He means that.
It's a bet against the health of Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Anthony Davis last 3 years averages 44 games per year. LeBron James 56 games per year. I'm not doubting that when they put it all together in the playoffs, as we just saw, they can be a very potent team. They're just not going to have the availability of their best players throughout the season. LeBron is pushing 40. He does not care about the regular season.
That's
so
so counterculture.
Yeah, it really is.
He does it. I mean, do you agree, disagree?
I think a bet against Christian Wood is probably a good bet. I really
what
don't
is he
like
on,
that
his
guy.
7th team?
Man, I don't like that guy. I heard the story of Jalen Green
big
chirping
contributes
him.
to winning kind of guy.
Yeah, Jalen Green chirped him.
I really liked what I saw in the playoffs.
What's the number?
It's 46.5.
Under. And this it also moved down. It was 47.5.
So, but I think they and
listen, the West is stacked.
The West is
stacked.
But you might need that 47 wins to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So LeBron's not missing the playoffs. I think they unlocked a lot of stuff. I love what we saw with Rui was really nice in the playoffs.
Most competitive
Reeves
sweep in NBA history.
Oh, yeah.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying that's the playoffs. Regular season, I think it's just.
What's the number you think it takes to get into the playoffs in the West?
As a play-in team?
Well, no. I think let's say 6, and then let's say play-in. You're gonna for 6 seed. You probably need
45 to 47.
I was gonna say 47, 48.
Mid-40s. Wow. You're gonna need mid-40s.
So they might need to hit that number just to get in.
I mean, I'm not saying they will. You could make the argument they finished last in their division.
Yeah,
You
man,
could.
the West is crazy.
You could.
That your
I don't
take?
think they will.
No, I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying there's a world where they finish.
Check FanDuel.
FanDuel, we got odds.
Yeah.
We
They
got odds.
finish behind the Clippers, the Kings, the Suns, and the Warriors.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they will, but,
No, but it's
I
possible.
mean,
What a
there's.
gauntlet.
That's
Oh
what
my
I'm
goodness.
saying. It's stacked, right?
Oh my goodness.
LeBron he doesn't have it in his body anymore to play 82 games or 70 games or 65 games.
You know what?
He's so mad.
Keep doubting LeBron. Seriously, keep doubting LeBron.
Oh, surprise! Hein with a pick.
No, but no. You
supports
want to talk
LeBron,
like
right?
narrative and like you oldest MVP we talked earlier? Like let's just LeBron. Let's get another MVP. Let's shock the world, as Daniel Pignataro would say. Like let's.
Don't quote pigs.
Yeah,
on this.
no, man.
Don't
I'm
quote
just
pigs.
not. I'm not in the business of doubting LeBron. That's all. Hambone, what's your best bet?
Even though I'm wearing a Hemi sweater, Miami Heat, but I'm actually going with a divisional foe in the Atlanta Hawks over 41.5. I know it's not sexy.
The Zach Lowe pick.
Low got it from me probably. I've been saying this for a
That's
month
true.
plus.
I will say this: we were walking in the bowels of the ACC once,
bowels.
and Zach Lowe nodded at Hambone. So that's just know
That's
know
who
how
he is.
credible this man
Celeb.
is. He got the
Celeb.
Zach Lowe
Celeb.
nod.
We shared a flight one time.
Oh wow! Oh, see, there's more. There's more to the story.
Just
Man,
unearthing like an onion.
I'm
man.
out here
Look at you.
working, man.
Okay.
One reason I like the Hawks bet, Quinn Snyder. I also like him to win
He's
Coach of the Year.
I love him for Coach of the Year.
I also like the Hawks to put some money down them to win the Southeast Division. Last year, their win total was, I believe, 46.5. I believe I'm getting that right. My notes are on my phone. I'm not checking them right now. 5 wins less. I like Trae Young. I think it's a bounce back. I think you can buy the dip on Trae. I think he has a better year under Quinn Snyder. I think DeJounte Murray just got signed to an extension. I think it's more comfortable. I actually love that they traded John Collins. I think that gives them more role definition. And I think it's Trae's show, man. I don't want to give up any company secrets here, but I'm also going to be high on Trae Young in any fantasy leagues we participate in. It's just I like the number. I think it's low. Last year, I thought things didn't go correct, similar to the Raptors. I thought things didn't go as well for them. Trae got hurt for a couple games. Nate McMillan got fired midseason. I think a whole year under Quinn Snyder, training camp, 41.5, my best bet.
I love it. I think that number's too low. I think we're all believers in Quinn Snyder. It's like Quinn Snyder coaches your team. You're automatically
Proof in the pudding, man.
improve.
Proof in the pudding in Utah.
Yeah, I want
Doubt
to
me.
disagree with you because I don't like you as a
it's
person. But that
impossible.
was every point you made was good.
I put money on this also.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to sit here and poke holes in
Okay.
it.
Now-
I'll say this too. If you want, the people don't know, but Kings last year, that was
Yeah,
a
we were
lock
all
of
we were
all
that was a
locks.
group bet.
Come on,
the
man.
group chat was heavy
Zach
on
Lowe
that
would
Kings
vouch.
over.
We just had
Zach
nowhere to
Lowe
share it.
vouches.
We had nowhere to
Yeah,
share.
we know where to share it.
We
now
had nowhere
do.
to share our
Okay, now
last year.
so since we all agreed on that last one, I'm gonna bring up as we're switching shorter to our award / personal bets something you might. I don't know if anyone's gonna agree with this because this is a spicy bet. It is 90-1. You guys ready for this? Jordan Poole to lead the NBA in scoring 90-1.
It's a pool party.
That's a dart. That is a dart throw. At those odds, I think that is just ridiculous. We all think this guy's just gonna. This is his. Just score. Just go out and score. I think he's gonna have a good year in Washington, and there's nothing but opportunity. I think at 90-1, you throw the dart, and then say after 5 games, when that's down to like 40-1, you're like, you know what, I made a smart bet because at least the odds are much lower now.
You know what it takes to be the NBA's leading point scorer? You have to be good. Jordan Poole's not a good player. He's not good enough to be able to average 30 points a game.
I was hanging
all
on
right?
every word.
Like, Jordan Poole,
Oh my goodness.
just because he's getting opportunity doesn't mean that he's going to have like 33 points a night.
I
He's
think
going to get usage, but Luka, as an example, he got usage. He didn't even lead the league in point scoring. It takes more than just shot
For
volume
sure. I think Jordan Poole's a good player though. Like he's
We stand
a good offensive player.
Listen,
Yeah. Good offensive player.
I'm not going to argue with 90-1.
Yeah, the
you know what I'm
odds,
saying?
yes.
I'm not expecting this to happen. Yeah,
Take the bet then. 90-1.
Okay, look, if we're offering donations, all right, 90-1, go for it, all right? But like that just money's going straight to Salvation Army. Go for it, no problem, all
I
right?
mean, how many threes does he put up a game realistically? Probably like 8.
7, 8, yeah.
Okay, so he'll probably get 3 threes a game.
Like how
to
many
his
shots
credit.
between him and Kuzma? You can make the argument they split like 45 shots a game.
I mean, he's coming out of a good ecosystem in Golden State. I mean, like, who's setting screens for him on Washington? They're going to be terrible.
Yeah, but they're going to be bad, and he was limited to what he could do. Now he's got all the opportunity.
90 to
Look,
1.
I'm saying this is going to add 90 to 1. That's all I'm saying.
Take this way.
Sure. 91 you can have it, all right? But I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of other good
So, speaking of being righteous, you can accuse me of being the righteous one. Oh, holy righteous Wes, what is your award back?
Okay, so my award lock here, no, I'm not saying it's a lock. DPOY, there's one thing about DPOY. The DPOY, all right? One thing that is like a tried and proven method about betting a DPOY, if you're looking at it, the last 10 winners of this award all played on a top 3 defensive rated team. Defensive Player of the Year, we've all talked about this a little bit. It's not an individual defensive player award. Mm-hmm. So there are guys out there like Anthony Davis. I know you love Bam. I know you got guys like Miles Turner. People are like, oh, Draymond Green. If you're not a top 3 defense, you are not winning this award. The only exception to that rule is if you're like the number 1 seed and a top 5, top 6 defense. Yeah. So when you're looking at this award, when you're going through that list, you have to have that criteria. To me, Jaren Jackson is the favorite, but he sizes up as somebody who has a shot to hit those criteria. You'll look at that list, you'll see a few others that can do that. But Jaren Jackson right now, with Steven Adams back, with another DPOY on his team, Marcus Smart, they have a chance to be a top 3
So you're going for a repeat. You think he repeats?
I mean, if you look at the history of DPOY, look at how many back-to-backs of Dwight Howards. You got your Ben Wallace's. Rudy Gobert has won this award multiple times.
And I think we should say, too, for the award criteria, there's now a new rule that there's a 65-game minimum other than Rookie of the Year. So, actually, that might play into Jaren a little bit more because I think the big thing with him was always minutes. If he's trying to chase an award and he knows that's the criteria he's got to hit.
But 65. Also, with no jaw for 25 games,
could be bonus.
He's gonna have to his usage or like
he'll play more. Most likely offensive.
But I'm saying
usage.
He's gonna play more minutes. He's gonna be on the court more. They're probably gonna have to scrap for those 25 games and win a little more grimy than they typically would with jaw there.
Outside of this one injury he had, he's been a healthy player. He's only 23.
I worry about his fouling. I think everyone does. I think Grizzlies fans worry.
How does that affect games played?
Fair point.
Right?
But like stats in those games. I mean, listen, we had money on Jaren, I think, late last year as well. Yeah. We saw the writing on the wall. For a while, like Nick Claxton was favored.
The best conspiracy ever, by the way, last year, Jaren Jackson home away blocks. Just shout out Fab.
Oh, the scorekeepers in Memphis.
The scorekeepers were cooking the books, man.
They were cooking just on Twitter at Bill Simmons at Stats. How can you guys stand for this? Are you seeing this? Someone has to say something.
I had money on Bam. Yeah. What do you want from me?
So did I, and I'm putting money on Bam.
All right, Fab, let's
okay. If you have the spiciest bet, mine is the least spiciest bet. It's Nikola Jokic to win the MVP.
Listen, guys, just stop.
Listen, boys, where's what's a good stock you can buy that'll
great suggestion.
4 to 1 on your money.
Warren Buffett over here with his S&P 500 bet.
Berkshire Hathaway.
What can I say? 4.5 to 1. He's the best player in the league.
Yeah,
he's coming off one of the most impressive playoffs we've ever seen. The Nuggets are a lock to win at least 50 games.
50 for sure.
And he's going to have outrageous numbers. I think it's just something nice to have in your portfolio. I'm not saying you can't sprinkle elsewhere. Fair. Have a nice little base.
Can I ask one question? I'm just going to say, coming off of the title, does that team value the regular season as much as, say, you'd want an MVP too, given the fact that, although home court is very important.
I think they value home court, especially in altitude.
Now, one other thing, you mentioned the sprinkling, and I think this is a very important thing with MVP bets. If you look at the trends, probably going back like the last 4 or 5 years, you're getting all these different guys at great numbers. Look at the Embiid and Jokic flip-flop in like February, March last year. To bet these things, you need to just kind of have several. We talked about this in the other video. Sprinkle on 3 or 4 guys around that 7 to 10 to 1 range.
Be ready to cash stuff out mid-season. Be ready to.
Good advice too that Fab is given with my Mike McDaniel Coach of the Year bet. Say you want to put 1 unit on a future, just split it up and put a half unit twice so that you have options to cash that out. There's a little
it's a good tip because you can cash out one of them and keep the other one, right?
So you both went chalk.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah.
I like Chet Holmgren, Rookie of the Year, plus 320. He's not the only unicorn that resides in the NBA. 7-foot monster, can shoot threes, is going to play on what I deem to be a winning team, which I think will give him a bump.
Typically doesn't matter as much with Rookie of the Year, but if they're a 50-win team.
I think voters are a little more informed now. I don't think they're going to give it to just the guy that scores the most points on the on a losing team. I love Wembanyama. I think he's so flexible.
Yeah,
did you
just
see
give us
the
a
video?
quick 30-second on his flexing routine.
I am 35 years old, turning 36. I can't do half of what that guy does. My hips are so freaking solid. I can't do anything. That guy is putting his heads between his legs. He's doing the splits. He's 7'4".
Yeah, and you know what else he is? He's a professional athlete.
Hold on,
that's what else he is, too.
I play sports.
Are you physically comparing yourself to Victor Wembanyama?
Hold on, you once said you could beat Mo Pete one. You told Mo Pete to his face that you could beat him one-on-one.
He dribbles too high. I told that to him. Yes, I did. Listen, man, I just think, okay, so yeah, Wembanyama.
Wemby, I think, is the only thing that could come in the way of that.
I ain't going chalk like these guys. Listen,
Oh,
man, he's a
the
freak.
second best pick. Oh, wow, you're so freaking
Which is
special.
surprising, too, right? Because I think many people would think it was Scoot. I just think Chet being on a winning team this year, there is a precedent of players missing the first year due to injury, coming back and winning the award. Blake Griffin did it. Ben Simmons did it.
Chet looks really good in the pre. I know all the talks about Wembanyama. Chet looks good.
No, Chet looks really good,
He
too.
looks really good. I just think on a winning team, a team that is starved for a center, I think he's going to put up threes. I think he's going to crash the rebounds. I can see 15, 10, and 2 to 3 in blocks. And I think on a winning team, if Wembanyama's putting up similar numbers but with more highlights, I think he might get a little more attention. I think when it comes down to it, Chet Holmgren, Rookie of the Year, I like the value.
So now, sorry, I also like the bet. I'm just going to play quick devil's advocate because with awards, we know it's always narrative.
Yeah.
There is just so much hype.
I understand.
Going. The Wembanyama hype train
Of course.
is just,
That's the
it's
danger.
off the
And
rails.
the
and that's
65-game minimum does not apply
yeah.
for rookies as well, which actually might play into Wembanyama's favor. I just love Chet, man. Second overall pick last year. I think we forget just how talented he was in Gonzaga. I've been following his career since he was playing with the United States, coming up in the system. He's very frail. I know you like to rip on him. I know you like to rip on his shoulders.
He doesn't have an NBA-made big man body.
He's got bigger.
Yeah, he's gotten a little bit bigger. Listen,
the three.
I think where Chet would have an opening is if things go really south for the Spurs and it's March, April, and they're just really
Shut him down.
You know, they're just being really cautious.
Man,
with
Jalen
Wemby,
Williams
and he
got
loses
so much hype down the stretch last year. I think because they were on a more winning team. I think that was the reason why. Then Paolo eventually won, but I just think that helps the narrative down the stretch.
But that's what I'm saying. That's not going to happen to Chet. Or that could happen to Wemby.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Because if it's March and they're bottoming out, then
I know you like Scoot.
I mean, listen, Scoot. I think he's going to be in the mix. I don't think you can completely write him off because he's a guard who's going to have the ball in his hands.
But I think those percentages are just going to be bad, and that's going to, like as Hambone said, there's more
yeah,
informed voters.
Yeah.
Those percentages are going to be ugly for Scoot. And that might be the worst team in the league, Portland.
This year, more than any other year with Rookie of the Year, you know, sometimes you'll get a guy like Jalen Williams, that you just mentioned, who can sneak into it even though he wasn't a top 3 pick. This is not the year to do it. Man. This is, like, very clearly, there are 3 dudes that could win this award. Brandon Miller.
We mentioned Brandon Miller, yeah.
Brandon Miller is 28 to 1.
Yeah.
28, and he's a second overall pick.
This is not a Brogdon, Michael Carter Williams type year.
This is not the year to try to be a hero.
Speaks to the talent, man. I think the fact that Chet was a number 2 overall pick and now he just joins in, sorry, I'm playing the piano. Joins in with Wemby and Scoot, like that's a lot of talent, man. I think it's gonna be the most exciting Rookie of the Year race.
Yeah, it's refreshing because last year there was no action on it. It was Bankero, wire to wire.
Minus like 5,000 from like the start. It was bad.
All right, on that note, let's wrap her up and be sure to go back to this video in May and then mock us for all these picks that are definitely going to be losers.
Yeah, we just gave A losers.